When a stranger saves your life through a wrong text message, you think it's luck. When he shows up at your door in the middle of the night, you wonder if it's fate. But when his enemies make you their target, you realize some wrong numbers change everything. This is the story of Lena Carter, a woman who sent a desperate plea to the wrong number and found salvation in the most unexpected place. If you stay until the end, you'll see how one mistake became the beginning of something extraordinary. Hit that like button and comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. Now, let's begin. The bathroom tile was cold against Lena's back. She pressed herself into the corner between the toilet and the wall, making herself as small as possible, as if she could disappear into the grout lines if she tried hard enough. Her right arm hung at an unnatural angle, swelling, already turning the skin purple and tight. Every breath sent sharp knives of pain through her ribs. Outside the locked door, Marcus was pacing. She could hear his footsteps, 3 steps forward, pivot, 3 steps back. The pattern she'd learned to read over the past year. 3 steps meant he was thinking. Thinking was worse than yelling. When Marcus thought, he planned. Lena. His voice came through the door, artificially calm, the kind of calm that preceded hurricanes. Baby, open the door. Let's talk about this. She didn't answer, couldn't answer. Her throat had closed up, swollen from crying, from screaming, from begging him to stop. I said open the door. The calm cracked at the edges. Lena's phone sat on the bathroom counter just out of reach. She'd have to stand, have to move, have to make noise. But it was her only chance. With her good hand braced against the wall, she pushed herself up. Her legs trembled. The movement made her vision blur with pain. I can hear you moving around in there. Marcus's voice shifted, harder now. Don't make me break down this door, Lena. You know I will. She knew. She'd watched him put his fist through the bedroom wall last month. Watched him flip the kitchen table last week. Tonight, he'd put her arm through the coffee table when she'd tried to leave. Her fingers finally closed around the phone. The screen lit up. 11:47 p.m. She pulled up her contacts with shaking hands, found Mom, and started typing. Please help me, Marcus. Hurt me bad this time. I'm scared apart. Mint 4B2847. Riverside Drive. Please come. She hit send and slumped back down to the floor, pressing her broken arm against her chest. The pain was almost unbearable, but the fear was worse. The pacing outside stopped. Who are you texting? Marcus's voice went deadly quiet. Lena's heart stuttered. How did he? I can see the light under the door, you stupid bitch. Who are you texting? Before she could answer, her phone buzzed. Relief flooded through her. Mom had replied. Thank God, Mom had... She looked at the screen. The number wasn't her mother's. Unknown number. Where are you exactly? What floor? Lena stared at the message, her brain struggling to process. Wrong number. She'd sent it to a wrong number. In her panic, her shaking hands, she must have... Unknown number. Answer me. Are you still in the bathroom? How did they know she was in a bathroom? She looked back at her sent messages. Nowhere had she mentioned the bathroom. Her pulse quickened for a different reason now. Unknown. Number. I can see your location. 4th floor, east side. Bathroom window faces the street? Terror and confusion warred in her chest. This wasn't her mother. This was a stranger who somehow knew where she was, what window she was near. But that voice, those messages, they weren't threatening. They were assessing. Clinical. Like someone gathering tactical information. Outside the door, Marcus slammed his palm against the wood. Lena! Her fingers moved without conscious thought. Yes. Bathroom window, street side. Please, I don't know who you are. I meant to text my mom. Please don't call police. He'll kill me before they get here. The response came within seconds. Unknown. Number. I'm not calling anyone. I'm coming. Stay in the bathroom. Lock the window. Move away from the door. Lena's breath caught. Coming? This stranger was coming? Who are you? Unknown. Number. Someone who doesn't ignore calls for help. 8 minutes. The bathroom door shuddered in its frame. Marcus had started kicking it. I'm going to count to 3, Lena. His voice had gone beyond anger into something cold and mechanical. This was the Marcus that terrified her most. The controlled one. If this door isn't open by 3, I'm coming through it. And you know what happens then? She knew. The last time he'd broken through a door, she'd spent 3 days covering bruises with makeup. One! Lena scrambled to the window, using her good hand to flip the lock. The window was small, barely big enough for her to fit through even if she tried. No escape route there. But she locked it anyway, following the stranger's instructions because what else did she have? Two! She pulled towels from the rack and shoved them against the base of the door, a pathetic barrier that would do nothing but maybe slow him down by half a second. Her medical textbooks from her abandoned nursing program were stacked in here. She grabbed the heaviest one and held it against her chest like a shield. Three! The first kick sent cracks spiderwebbing through the wood around the lock. The second made the frame splinter. Lena backed into her corner, making herself small again, the textbook raised in her trembling good hand. 8 minutes, the stranger had said. How long had it been? 1 minute? 2? Not nearly enough. The third kick sent the door crashing inward, the lock assembly tearing free from the destroyed frame. Marcus stood in the doorway, chest heaving, eyes wild. Blood ran from his knuckles where he'd punched something, the wall, probably, in the hallway. There you are. He stepped into the bathroom and the space suddenly felt impossibly small. Marcus was 6'2", built like the college linebacker he'd been before he blew out his knee and his scholarship and his future. When he was happy, his size made her feel protected. When he was angry, it made her feel hunted. Marcus, please. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. Please what? He took another step closer. Please don't be mad that you tried to leave me. Please don't be upset that you texted someone behind my back. His eyes dropped to the phone still clutched in her hand. Who'd you text, Lena? My mom. I texted my mom. Liar. The word came out flat. He held out his hand. Give me the phone. It was my mom, I swear. Give me the phone. She handed it over, and he scrolled through her messages. His face went from red to white to red again. A wrong number. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You texted a random stranger our address. You told some unknown person I hurt you. He looked up at her. Do you have any idea how stupid that is? What if this person calls the cops? What if they show up here? They said they wouldn't. Oh, they said they wouldn't. Marcus's voice dripped with mock sincerity. Well, if a complete stranger said it, it must be true. He pocketed her phone. Get up. Marcus, my arm. I said get up. She tried. She really did. But her legs wouldn't cooperate, wouldn't hold her weight. The pain and fear had drained everything from her. She slumped back down. Something shifted in Marcus's expression. For just a moment, she saw the man she'd fallen in love with 2 years ago, the one who brought her coffee in bed, the one who'd held her when her father died. That Marcus flickered across his face like a ghost. I'm sorry. He crouched down, reaching for her. Baby, I'm sorry. I just get so scared of losing you. You know that, right? Everything I do is because I love you so much. She'd heard this before. The cycle was always the same. Explosion, destruction, apology, promises. Then calm for a few days, maybe a week. Then tension building, then explosion again. The cycle had been getting shorter, the explosions bigger. Tonight was the worst it had ever been. Let me help you up, Marcus said softly, his hand outstretched. Let's get some ice on that arm. I'll drive you to the hospital. We'll say you fell, okay? Just like last time. Last time. When he'd cracked her ribs and they'd told the ER doctor she'd slipped on the stairs. She almost took his hand, almost let herself believe that this time would be different, that he really was sorry, that he'd really change. Her fingers actually lifted toward his. Then she heard it. Footsteps in the apartment. Not Marcus's pacing. These were different, purposeful, fast. Marcus heard them too. His head whipped toward the bathroom doorway. What the? A figure appeared in the doorway, and Lena's breath stopped. The man was tall, taller than Marcus, with dark hair and eyes that looked black in the harsh bathroom light. He wore all black, black pants, black shirt, black jacket. But it was the way he stood that made her heart race. Absolutely still, completely calm, like a predator that had already calculated every possible outcome and knew it would win. Step away from her. The stranger's voice was quiet, controlled, each word precisely placed. He spoke with a faint accent she couldn't quite place. Eastern European, maybe. Russian? Marcus stood, putting himself between Lena and the stranger. Who the hell are you? How did you get in my apartment? Your apartment? The stranger's gaze flicked around the bathroom, taking in the broken door, the towels shoved against the base. Lena huddled in the corner with her broken arm. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Your name on the lease? That's none of your business. This is breaking and entering. I'm calling the cops. With which phone? The stranger's eyes dropped to Marcus's pocket where Lena's phone was. That one belongs to her. And I don't think you want to call anyone. They might ask uncomfortable questions about her injuries. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. I don't know who you think you are. I think I'm the person she texted for help. I think I'm the person who drove across town in 6 minutes instead of 8, because I could hear the fear in her messages. And I think I'm the person who is going to walk out of here with her in approximately 30 seconds, and you're going to let it happen. Like hell I am. Marcus shifted his weight, dropping into a fighting stance. He'd done some boxing in college, thought he knew how to handle himself. The stranger didn't move, didn't even blink. You have two choices. You can step aside and walk away with your pride bruised, or you can try to stop me and walk away with much more than your pride broken. Choose fast. You threatening me? Marcus's voice rose. In my own home? You don't know who you're messing with. Marcus? Lena's voice was barely audible, but both men turned to look at her. Let me go, please. Just let me go. Something cracked in Marcus's expression. The ghost of the good man vanished completely, replaced by something ugly and possessive. No, you don't get to leave me. Not after everything I've done for you. Not after I gave up everything. He lunged for her. The stranger moved so fast Lena almost didn't see it. One moment Marcus was reaching for her. The next he was face down on the bathroom floor, his arm wrenched behind his back at an angle that made Lena wince in sympathy despite everything. Don't move. The stranger's voice hadn't changed, still calm, still quiet. He applied pressure to Marcus's shoulder joint, and Marcus cried out, I said don't move. The stranger looked up at Lena. Up close, his eyes weren't black. They were a very dark brown, almost warm despite the coldness in his expression. Can you walk? She nodded, though she wasn't sure if it was true. Then we're leaving, now. Using his free hand, the stranger pulled out his phone and tossed it to her. She caught it awkwardly with her good hand. Call this number. Tell them we need a doctor. Discreet. Give them this address. 4425 Ashland, Unit 12. Can you remember that? 4425 Ashland, Unit 12, she repeated numbly. Good. He increased pressure on Marcus's arm, and Marcus howled. That's for her broken arm. And this... He shifted his stance, and something in Marcus's shoulder popped audibly. Is to make sure you think twice before putting your hands on anyone again. Marcus was crying now, pleading. Okay, please, you made your point. The stranger released him and stood in one fluid motion, blocking Lena from view. If you follow us, I will find you. If you try to contact her, I will find you. If you so much as think about her too hard, I will know, and I will find you, and next time I won't be this gentle. Are we clear? Marcus, cradling his damaged shoulder, nodded frantically. Say it. We're clear. I won't follow. I won't contact her. I swear. The stranger studied him for a long moment, then seemed satisfied. He turned to Lena and extended his hand, not grabbing, not demanding, just offering. Can you stand? She took his hand. His grip was firm but careful, supporting her weight as she struggled to her feet. Waves of dizziness washed over her, and she swayed. Immediately, his other hand came up to steady her, gentle, despite the violence he'd just displayed. I've got you, he said quietly. Just hold on. He guided her out of the bathroom, his body positioned between her and Marcus the entire time. Through the bathroom doorway, through the bedroom with its broken furniture and holes punched in the walls, through the living room where the coffee table lay in pieces surrounded by blood, her blood, from her shattered arm. When they reached the front door, she looked back. Marcus was still on the bathroom floor, not following. Too hurt, too scared, or maybe, finally, too ashamed. The stranger noticed her looking. Don't, he said softly. Don't give him any more of your energy. He's already taken enough. The night air hit her like a slap after the stuffy apartment. They were on the fourth floor, and the stranger guided her toward the elevator with one hand hovering near her back, not touching, but ready to catch her if she fell. "Wait," she said as they reached the elevator. "I don't even know your name." He pressed the down button. "Adrian." "Adrian what?" "Just Adrian, for now." The elevator dinged and the doors slid open. He gestured for her to enter first. "We'll have plenty of time for introductions after we get that arm treated." Inside the elevator, Lena's legs finally gave out. She slumped against the wall, and Adrian caught her before she could slide to the floor. This time he didn't hesitate. He scooped her up carefully, mindful of her broken arm, and held her against his chest. "I'm sorry," she mumbled against his shoulder. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to—" "Stop apologizing." His voice was firm. "You did nothing wrong. Nothing. Do you understand me?" She didn't. Couldn't. Some part of her still believed that if she'd just been quieter, more careful, less mouthy, Marcus wouldn't have— "Look at me." Adrian's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. She raised her eyes to his. "What happened to you tonight was not your fault. It was never your fault. Say it." "I can't." "Say it." "It wasn't my fault," she whispered, the words foreign in her mouth. Again. "It wasn't my fault." Once more. "It wasn't my fault." This time, something in her chest loosened just a fraction. The elevator reached the ground floor. Outside, a sleek black car idled at the curb. Expensive, probably German, definitely illegal to park there. Adrian carried her to it and somehow managed to open the passenger door while still holding her. He set her down gently in the leather seat, then reached across to buckle her seatbelt. "The doctor I called specializes in situations like this," he said as he walked around to the driver's side. "He won't ask questions, won't file police reports unless you explicitly request it. He's completely confidential." Lena's mind struggled to process this information. "How do you have a doctor who specializes in situations like this?" Adrian started the car, pulling smoothly into traffic. "That's a conversation for another time. Right now we focus on getting you treated." She should have been more afraid. This man was a complete stranger who'd broken into her apartment and violently subdued her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, some part of her brain corrected. She was alone in a car with him, injured and vulnerable. Every true crime podcast she'd ever listened to screamed at her to be terrified. But she wasn't. Something about Adrian's controlled calm, the careful way he'd touched her, the genuine anger in his eyes when he'd seen her injuries. It all spoke of protection, not threat. "Did you kill him?" she asked suddenly. "Marcus? Did you kill him?" "No." Adrian took a left turn, heading toward what Lena recognized as the expensive side of town. "Though I considered it." The casual honesty of that statement should have frightened her. Instead, it made her feel validated. Someone else had seen what Marcus did and wanted to hurt him for it. Someone had actually acted on that impulse, had actually protected her instead of telling her to work it out or asking what she'd done to make him angry. Tears started flowing before she could stop them. Not scared tears this time, but something else. Relief? Grief? Exhaustion? All of the above? "There's tissue in the glove compartment," Adrian said quietly, his eyes never leaving the road. She fumbled it open with her good hand and found, along with tissues, a first aid kit, 2 bottles of water, and a protein bar. She grabbed tissues and wiped at her face, trying to pull herself together. "I sent the text to a wrong number," she said, needing him to understand. "I was trying to reach my mom. My hands were shaking so bad I must have hit the wrong contact." "I know." "So, why did you come? Why would you drive across town for a stranger?" Adrian was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he said, "I've seen what happens when people ignore calls for help, when they decide it's not their problem or convince themselves someone else will handle it. I decided a long time ago that I wouldn't be one of those people." They pulled up to a modern building with a private garage. Adrian used a key card to open the gate, then parked in a spot marked reserved. The elevator here was much nicer than the one in Lena's apartment building, all mirrors and soft lighting. "Where are we?" she asked as they ascended. "Somewhere safe." Adrian checked his watch. "The doctor should arrive in about 10 minutes. This is a secure building. Marcus doesn't know about it. No one you know does." The elevator opened directly into an apartment, a penthouse, Lena realized with shock. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The furniture looked expensive but comfortable, lived in. Books lined built-in shelves. A laptop sat open on the kitchen counter next to a half-drunk cup of coffee. "You live here," she said, not quite a question. "Yes." Adrian guided her to a plush couch and helped her sit. "I'll get you some water. Have you eaten today?" Had she? Lena tried to remember. Breakfast had been coffee. Lunch had been nothing. She'd been at work. Marcus had called 6 times, angry that she hadn't answered fast enough. By the time she got home, she'd been too anxious to eat. "No," she admitted. Adrian's jaw tightened again, that barely perceptible tell that she was starting to recognize as anger. "I'll make you something light. The doctor will want you to have food in your stomach before he gives you anything for the pain." He moved to the kitchen with efficient movements, pulling out bread, cheese, and tomato. As he assembled a grilled cheese sandwich, Lena's phone, still in Adrian's jacket pocket, buzzed repeatedly. "That's him, isn't it?" she asked. "Marcus." Adrian pulled out the phone and glanced at the screen. 17 messages, 12 calls. He set it on the counter, face down. "Do you want to read them?" "No." The answer came quickly, instinctively. She didn't want to see his apologies or his threats or his manipulations. Didn't want to feel that pull, that voice in her head that said maybe he really was sorry this time. "Good." Adrian flipped the sandwich in the pan. "Later, when you're stronger, we can deal with your phone and all the logistics. Tonight, we focus on healing." The intercom buzzed. Adrian pressed a button. "Yes?" "Dr. Petrov, you called for a house visit?" "4th floor. Come up." A minute later, an older man with steel gray hair and kind eyes stepped out of the elevator carrying a black medical bag. He took one look at Lena cradling her swollen arm and set his bag down with a sigh. "My dear girl," he said in a thick Russian accent that made his connection to Adrian suddenly make sense. "Let's see what we're dealing with here." Dr. Petrov was gentle but thorough. He examined her arm, her ribs, the bruises blooming across her body. He asked questions about pain levels and range of motion, all while Adrian watched from the kitchen, his expression unreadable. "The arm is fractured in 2 places," Dr. Petrov finally announced. "You need a cast. The ribs are bruised but not broken. The rest will heal with time." He pulled supplies from his bag. "I can set the arm here and apply a temporary cast, but you should see an orthopedist within the week for x-rays and a proper cast." "I can't afford," Lena started. "Already handled," Adrian interrupted. "I have an orthopedist on retainer. He'll see you Monday." "You have a doctor on retainer?" "I have several doctors on retainer," Dr. Petrov chuckled as he prepared a syringe. "Adrian takes his privacy very seriously, and his health. Now, this will help with the pain while I set your arm. You'll feel a little pinch." The pinch turned into a warm wave that spread through her body, dulling the sharp edges of pain. As doctor, Petrov worked on her arm. Adrian brought over the grilled cheese and water. The food tasted better than anything she'd eaten in months. "You're malnourished," Dr. Petrov observed as he wrapped her arm. "When did you last have a proper meal?" Lena couldn't remember. Marcus had controlled their money, their food, their everything. He said it was because she was bad with budgets, but really it was another way to keep her dependent. "We'll work on that too," Adrian said quietly. By the time Dr. Petrov finished, Lena's arm was immobilized in a temporary cast, her pain reduced to a dull ache, and exhaustion was pulling at her like a riptide. She could barely keep her eyes open. "She needs rest," Dr. Petrov told Adrian. "The next few days will be difficult. The body processes trauma in many ways." "I know." Adrian walked the doctor to the elevator. They spoke in rapid Russian, too fast for Lena to catch, even if she'd understood the language. "Doctor." Petrov glanced back at her once, his expression sympathetic, then nodded and left. Adrian returned to find Lena fighting to stay awake. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's get you to bed." "I should go home," she mumbled, though the thought of returning to that apartment made her want to vomit. "You are home, at least for tonight." He helped her stand. "Guest room is this way." The guest room was bigger than the bedroom in her apartment. The bed looked like a cloud. Adrian pulled back the covers and helped her lie down, adjusting pillows behind her back so her arm was elevated. "I don't have any clothes," she realized. She was still in the leggings and t-shirt she'd worn to work that morning, now blood-stained and torn. I'll put some things from my closet in the bathroom. They'll be too big, but they'll be clean. Adrian pulled the blanket up carefully. There's a lock on the door if that makes you feel safer. Lena looked at him, really looked at him. This stranger who'd dropped everything to save her, who'd carried her out of hell and into this soft, safe place. Who'd arranged for private doctors and asked for nothing in return. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. Adrian was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "Because someone should have done it sooner. And because—" He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "Because everyone deserves to be safe, especially from people who claim to love them. You don't even know me. I know enough." He moved toward the door, then stopped. "If you need anything, anything at all, I'm right across the hall. Just call out." "Adrian?" He turned back. "Thank you for coming, for helping, for everything." His expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Sleep, Lena. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest." He closed the door softly behind him, and Lena was alone for the first time in hours. In the quiet, everything that had happened crashed over her. The fight, the broken door, the fear, the stranger, Adrian, appearing like something out of a dream, the drive, the doctor, this room, this bed, this safety. She should have been planning, should have been thinking about what came next, about her apartment and her job and her life, should have been terrified of the stranger whose home she was in. Instead, for the first time in a year, Lena felt safe enough to close her eyes. And in the morning, everything would change again. Lena woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For 3 blissful seconds, she didn't remember where she was or why every muscle in her body ached. Then she tried to move her right arm, and the cast bumped against the headboard, and everything came flooding back. Marcus, the bathroom, Adrian. She sat up slowly, testing her body's limits. Her ribs protested. Her arm throbbed despite the pain medication. But beneath the physical pain was something else, a lightness she hadn't felt in so long she'd almost forgotten what it felt like. Freedom. She was away from Marcus. She was safe. The guest room looked different in daylight. Expensive but not showy. The kind of place that spoke of quiet money. The kind that didn't need to announce itself. On the dresser she found a stack of neatly folded clothes. Men's t-shirts, sweatpants with drawstrings, even a package of unopened women's underwear in her size. That last detail made her pause. Had Adrian gone shopping this morning, or did he just keep emergency supplies on hand for situations like this? How many situations like this had there been? She pushed the thought away and made her way to the attached bathroom. The face that stared back from the mirror was almost unrecognizable. Purple bruises bloomed across her cheekbone. Her lip was split. Her eyes were hollow, haunted. This was what she'd become over the past year. A ghost of herself, disappearing a little more each day. The shower was awkward with the cast, but she managed. The hot water felt like absolution, washing away dried blood and the smell of fear. She emerged feeling almost human, dressed in Adrian's clothes that hung on her thin frame like a child playing dress-up. When she opened the bedroom door, she found Adrian in the kitchen, reading something on his laptop while drinking coffee. He'd changed from last night's all black to jeans and a dark gray Henley. In the morning light, she could see details she'd missed, a scar along his jaw, silver threads in his dark hair at the temples. The way he held himself with military precision even while sitting casually. He looked up as she entered. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck." She attempted a smile. "But better than yesterday." "Coffee?" He was already reaching for a mug. "Please." He poured her a cup, black, then slid sugar and cream across the counter. "I wasn't sure how you take it. However, it's available." She doctored it with both, then took a grateful sip. The coffee was excellent, rich and smooth, probably more expensive than anything she'd ever bought herself. Adrian studied her for a moment, his dark eyes assessing. "We need to talk about next steps." "I know." Lena wrapped both hands around the warm mug. "I need to go back to the apartment, get my things, figure out how to—" "No." The word was flat, final. She looked up, startled. "You're not going back there," Adrian continued. "Not alone. Not yet. Probably not ever." It's my apartment too. I have rights. Rights don't matter when you're dead. His bluntness hit like cold water. Men like Marcus don't just let go. Right now, he's nursing his injuries and his wounded pride. In a few days, that pride will turn to rage. He'll convince himself you embarrassed him, that you deserve punishment for leaving. And when that happens, he'll come looking. Lena's hand started shaking, coffee sloshing in the mug. Adrian gently took it from her before it could spill. I'm not trying to scare you, he said, his voice softer now. I'm trying to keep you alive. There's a difference. So what do I do? Hide forever? Change my name and move to another state? If necessary. He said it like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. But first we handle the immediate problems. Your job. Where do you work? Riverside Elementary. I'm a teacher's aide. The thought of her classroom full of bright, chaotic 6-year-olds made her chest ache. I was supposed to be there yesterday. They're probably worried. You'll call in. Tell them you had a family emergency. Take the week off. I can't just... You can and you will. Adrian pulled out his phone. What's the number? She gave it to him, then watched as he dialed and handed her the phone. Her principal, Mrs. Henderson, answered on the second ring. Riverside Elementary, this is Patricia Henderson. Mrs. Henderson, it's Lena Carter. I'm so sorry I didn't call yesterday. Lena! My goodness, we were worried sick. Are you all right? The genuine concern in her principal's voice almost broke her. There was a family emergency. I need to take a few days off. Maybe a week. I'm sorry for the short notice. Don't you dare apologize. Family comes first. Is there anything we can do? Lena looked at Adrian, who was watching her carefully. No, thank you. I just need some time. Take all the time you need, dear. Your job will be waiting when you're ready. She hung up and handed the phone back to Adrian. Okay, that's done. Good. Now, your apartment. Make a list of everything you absolutely need. Documents, medication, sentimental items. Nothing replaceable. I can't just abandon all my things. Can you wear them? He gestured at her cast. Can you carry them? Can you defend yourself while lugging boxes if Marcus shows up? The image that conjured, her struggling with her broken arm while Marcus cornered her in their apartment, made her stomach turn. I have people who can handle it, Adrian continued. They'll go in, pack what you specify, and bring it here. Marcus won't even know it's happened. People. Lena set down her coffee. What kind of people? Who are you, Adrian? He leaned back against the counter, considering his answer. I'm someone who values privacy and security. I have resources, connections. I use them to help people who need it. That's not an answer. It's the answer you're getting right now. His tone wasn't unkind, but it was firm. What matters is that I can keep you safe. The specifics of how are less important. That's exactly the kind of thing someone dangerous would say. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. True. But a dangerous man wouldn't have brought you to his home, called his personal physician, or offered to retrieve your belongings. A dangerous man would have demanded something in return by now. He had a point. Lena had been here almost 12 hours, vulnerable and alone with him, and he hadn't made a single inappropriate move, hadn't touched her beyond necessary support, hadn't asked for anything except information needed to help her. I don't understand why you're doing this, she said quietly. People don't just help strangers for nothing. Adrian was silent for a long moment, his expression distant. When he spoke, his voice carried weight. When I was younger, someone I cared about was in a situation like yours. I didn't see the signs until it was too late. I told myself it wasn't my business, that she would ask if she needed help. I was wrong. What happened to her? She didn't make it. The words were simple, brutal. So now, when I get a message like yours, when someone asks for help, I don't ignore it. I don't wait for someone else to step in. I act. Lena's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be smart. Let me help you. He straightened, businesslike again. Make your list. My people will need it by noon. She spent the next hour cataloging her life. Birth certificate. In the filing cabinet drawer. Laptop. On the desk in the bedroom. Photo albums. Top shelf of the closet. Her grandmother's necklace. In the jewelry box. The nursing textbooks she couldn't bear to throw away. Bathroom shelf. Clothes from her side of the closet. The houseplant her mother had given her. somehow still alive despite everything. Adrian reviewed the list, typed something on his laptop, then looked up. Done. They'll go in this afternoon while Marcus is at work. He still works at the auto shop on 5th? How did you? I know things. It's what I do. He closed his laptop. Now, have you eaten? She hadn't. Adrian made her scrambled eggs and toast, watching with quiet satisfaction as she cleaned her plate. You need to eat regularly. Build your strength back up. Yes, doctor. The sarcasm slipped out before she could stop it. He raised an eyebrow. There she is. Who? The woman who texted a stranger for help instead of giving up. The one who locked herself in a bathroom and fought back. She's still in there. Lena looked down at her empty plate. Was she? Or had that been pure survival instinct, animal fear overriding everything else? She didn't feel strong. She felt broken and exhausted and terrified of what came next. Her phone, still in Adrian's possession, buzzed again, and again, and again. How many now? She asked. Adrian checked. 43 messages, 21 calls, 2 voicemails. He held up the phone. Do you want to block his number? He'll just call from another number, or use a friend's phone, or show up in person. She'd seen him do all of those things before, during their few brief breakups that never stuck. Not if he can't find you. He knows where I work, where my mom lives, where I get my hair cut. Her voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. He knows everything about me. Then we change everything. Adrian set the phone aside. You're already off work for a week. That gives us time to make arrangements. What kind of arrangements? A new apartment, secured building, doorman, cameras, under a different name if necessary. New phone number, new routines. He ticked items off on his fingers like he was planning a military operation. We make you invisible until the legal matters are settled. Legal matters? Restraining order at minimum. Assault charges if you want to press them. We document everything. Your injuries, the broken door, his messages. His expression hardened. We make it legally clear that he's never to contact you again. He'll violate it. Restraining orders are just paper. Usually, yes, but I know people in the police department, people who take violations very seriously. Adrian's tone suggested those violations would be handled swiftly and without mercy. Trust me when I say Marcus will think twice before coming near you. Lena wanted to believe him, wanted to believe she could really be free of Marcus, that life could be normal again. But a year of conditioning was hard to overcome. A year of Marcus telling her she was nothing without him, that no one else would want her, that she deserved everything he did because she was difficult, ungrateful, broken. Hey, Adrian's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. Where did you go just now? Nowhere. I'm fine. You're not fine, and that's okay. He moved around the counter, maintaining careful distance. What he did to you, physically, emotionally, that doesn't heal overnight. It's going to take time. I don't have time. I need to figure out my life, find a place to live, pay my bills, all of which can wait a few days. His calm was infuriating and comforting in equal measure. Right now, you focus on healing. Everything else is logistics. Easy for you to say. You're not the one whose entire life just imploded. No, but I am the one offering to help you rebuild it. He held her gaze. The question is whether you're going to let me. Before Lena could answer, the intercom buzzed. Adrian checked the screen. That's my assistant. She's bringing clothes and supplies. A woman in her 50s emerged from the elevator moments later, carrying multiple shopping bags. She had short silver hair and sharp eyes that immediately went to Lena's bruised face and cast. You must be Lena, she said in accented English. Also Russian, Lena noted. I'm Katya. I work with Adrian. Nice to meet you. Katya set the bags on the counter. I estimated your size, but if anything doesn't fit, I'll exchange it. Clothes, toiletries, some basics. She pulled out a new phone still in its box. And this. Clean number. No one but Adrian and I will have it. I can't afford... Consider it a loan, Adrian interrupted. We'll sort out finances later. Katya gave him a look that suggested they'd already discussed this. I also brought information on apartments. 3 options, all in secure buildings, all available immediately. Immediately? How? We have relationships with certain property managers, Katya explained. People who value discretion and are willing to bend normal procedures for the right tenants. This was too much, too fast. Lena's head spun. I don't understand. Why would anyone do this for me? I'm nobody. Katya's expression softened. You're not nobody. You're someone who needed help. That's enough. She stayed for another hour, helping Lena try on clothes and discussing apartment options. The first was a one-bedroom in a high-rise downtown. The second was a converted loft in the Arts District. The third was a small townhouse in a gated community. All of them were far beyond what Lena could afford on her teacher's aide salary. These are too expensive, she finally said. The rent is subsidized, Katya replied smoothly. Think of it as a scholarship. A scholarship. For survivors. Yes. Katya met her eyes. You're not the first person Adrian has helped. You won't be the last. He has resources, and he uses them for good. Let him. After Katya left, Lena confronted Adrian directly. Who are you? And don't give me the vague answer about privacy and security. Nobody just has apartments available immediately and doctors on call and people who pack up your life while your abuser is at work. That's not normal. Adrian considered her for a long moment, then gestured to the couch. Sit. I'll tell you what I can. They sat at opposite ends, maintaining space between them. Adrian steepled his fingers, choosing his words carefully. I came to this country 15 years ago with nothing. Built a business from the ground up, security consulting, mostly. Corporate clients who need protection, executives who need secure transportation, companies that need risk assessment. He paused. It grew larger than I expected, made me wealthy, made me connected. Security consulting. Lena turned the phrase over. That's what you call it? That's what it is. I don't deal in anything illegal, if that's what you're asking. No drugs, no weapons trafficking, no extortion, just security, protection, information. Information about people like Marcus, about anyone who poses a threat to my clients, or to people I choose to protect. His gaze was steady, which now includes you. I'm not your client. No, you're under my protection. There's a difference. Lena processed this. A security consultant who knew how to dislocate shoulders and had private doctors and could make apartments appear overnight. It should have scared her. Maybe it would have, before Marcus. Now it just felt like the universe's strange way of balancing the scales. So what happens now? She asked. Now you choose an apartment. Get settled. We file the restraining order on Monday. You take whatever time you need to heal, and when you're ready, you go back to your life. Stronger, safer. And you? I make sure Marcus doesn't interfere with any of that. How? Adrian's smile was cold. That's not something you need to worry about. A knock at the door interrupted them. Not the intercom this time, but the actual door. Adrian checked his phone, then relaxed marginally. That's the crew with your things. 3 men in plain clothes entered, carrying boxes and bags. They worked with military efficiency, setting everything in the guest room, then leaving without a word. The entire process took less than 10 minutes. Lena stood in the doorway of the guest room, looking at her life packed into boxes. It seemed like so little. A year with Marcus, and this was all she had to show for it. Some clothes, a few books, photographs of a happier time. It's not much, is it? She said quietly. Adrian appeared beside her. It's a starting point. You'll build from here. She turned to face him. Why do I feel like I traded one controlling man for another? His expression shuddered. If that's how you see this, I'll call Katya back. She'll arrange the apartment, help you move in, and I'll step away completely. You'll never hear from me again. I didn't mean, no, you're right to question it. Adrian's voice was firm. I showed up uninvited, made decisions for you, arranged your life without asking what you wanted. That's not protection, that's control dressed up in good intentions. He stepped back, creating distance between them. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me what you want. Not what you think I want to hear, not what seems easiest, what you actually want. And I'll help you make it happen, or I'll step aside. Your choice. Your life. Lena stared at him. When was the last time someone had asked what she wanted? Really asked, and meant it. Marcus had made every decision. Where they lived, what they ate, who they saw, how she dressed. Before that, her mother had mapped out her life with loving tyranny. Even further back, her father had chosen her major in college. Nobody had ever just asked. I don't know, she admitted. I don't know what I want, Then figure it out. You have time. Adrian moved toward the door. I'll be in my office if you need anything. Otherwise, this space is yours. He left her alone with her boxes and her thoughts. Lena spent the afternoon unpacking, creating small pockets of familiarity in the unfamiliar room. Her grandmother's necklace went on the dresser, her photo albums on the shelf, her clothes in the closet, where they barely filled a quarter of the space. At some point, Adrian knocked and left a sandwich outside her door. She ate it mechanically, her mind churning through everything that had happened in the past 24 hours. By evening, she'd made a decision. She found Adrian in his office, a room lined with monitors and filing cabinets that looked more like a command center than a workspace. He looked up as she entered. I want the townhouse, she said, the one in the gated community. I want to press charges against Marcus. And I want to go back to work in 2 weeks, not 1. Adrian's expression remained neutral. Why 2 weeks instead of 1? Because 1 week isn't enough to get my head straight. But if I wait too long, I'll lose my nerve. She lifted her chin. And I want you to teach me. Teach you what? How to protect myself. You moved so fast last night, Marcus didn't stand a chance. I want to learn that. So next time, if there's a next time, I'm not helpless. You weren't helpless last night. You survived. I hid in a bathroom and texted for help. That's not the same as fighting back. Adrian studied her for a long moment. Self-defense training while you're healing from broken bones isn't advisable. Then we start with theory, strategy, awareness. Whatever I can do that doesn't require 2 working arms. Her voice steadied with determination. I'm tired of being afraid, tired of being a victim. Teach me how to be something else. A slow smile crossed Adrian's face, the first genuine one she'd seen from him. All right, we start tomorrow, 6 a.m. 6 a.m.? Discipline begins with schedule. His smile widened at her expression. You wanted to learn. This is how I teach. Lena nodded, even though the thought of 6 a.m. made her want to cry. Okay, 6 a.m. Good. Now come have dinner. Katya's dropping off food in an hour and you need to eat. They ate Thai takeout at the kitchen island, and for the first time since the nightmare began, Lena felt something like peace, not happiness, that seemed impossibly far away. But peace. Safety. The tiniest spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could build something new from the ruins of her old life. Her new phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I know you're with him. I know what you did. This isn't over, Lena. You can't hide forever. The food turned to ashes in her mouth. Adrian noticed immediately. What is it? She showed him the message. His jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. He got your new number from someone at the phone store. I'll handle it. How did he? Because he's persistent and angry people find ways. Adrian took the phone, typed something, then handed it back. Blocked. And I'm calling the store to ensure it doesn't happen again. He said this isn't over. He's right. It's not. Adrian's eyes were hard. But it will be. Soon. That night, Lena lay in bed unable to sleep despite her exhaustion. Marcus's message played on repeat in her mind. You can't hide forever. He was right. She couldn't hide. Couldn't run. Not really. But maybe she could fight. At 5:55 a.m., she was dressed and waiting in the kitchen when Adrian emerged. He raised an eyebrow. Early. Motivated. His smile was approving. Good. Let's begin. The training started with awareness, not combat. Adrian led her to his office and pulled up security footage on one of the monitors, feeds from various buildings around the city. Tell me what you see, he said, pointing to footage of a parking garage. Lena studied the screen. A woman walked to her car, phone in hand, purse dangling from her elbow. A woman getting her car? Look closer. What's she doing wrong? Lena watched again. The woman was texting, not paying attention to her surroundings. Her purse was open. She walked past 2 concrete pillars where someone could hide. Everything? Everything, Adrian confirmed. She's broadcasting vulnerability. Phone out means distracted. Open purse means easy target. She's not checking her surroundings, not aware of potential hiding spots. If someone wanted to attack her, she's made it easy. He switched to another feed, a man walking down a street at night. What about him? This man moved differently. His head swiveled constantly, checking doorways and alleys. His hands stayed free. He walked in the middle of the sidewalk, away from building edges. He's paying attention. More than that, he's showing awareness. Predators look for easy targets. Someone who moves like this isn't easy. Adrian froze the frame. This is lesson 1. You can't fight what you don't see coming. Awareness buys you time. Time buys you options. They spent 2 hours reviewing footage, with Adrian pointing out danger signs Lena had never noticed. The way certain people moved, how attackers chose their targets, the importance of trusting instinct when something felt wrong. Your body knows before your brain catches up, Adrian explained. That feeling you get when someone's watching you? That's millions of years of evolution keeping you alive. Listen to it. Lena thought about all the times she'd ignored that feeling with Marcus. The knot in her stomach when he got too quiet. The tension in her shoulders when his voice took on that particular edge. She'd trained herself to ignore those warnings, to make excuses, to believe his apologies instead of her instincts. I ignored it, she said quietly, with Marcus. I felt it every time, but I talked myself out of leaving. That's different. You were in a relationship, emotionally invested. He isolated you, made you doubt yourself. That's not a failure of awareness. That's systematic manipulation. Adrian's voice was firm. What I'm teaching you now is how to protect yourself going forward. You can't change the past. You can only learn from it. Over the next week, their morning sessions became routine. 6 a.m. sharp, coffee first, then training. Adrian taught her to read body language, identify exits in every room, recognize the signs of someone following her. He made her practice scanning crowds, picking out threats, developing what he called tactical awareness. Imagine everyone's a potential threat until proven otherwise, he instructed one morning. Not because you should live in fear, but because preparation prevents panic. By the second week, Lena's cast was replaced with a lighter splint, and Adrian introduced basic defensive movements she could practice with one good arm. Not flashy martial arts, but practical techniques. How to break a grip, where to strike to maximum effect, how to use everyday objects as weapons. Your keys between your fingers is a cliché and ineffective, he demonstrated. But keys used to rake across eyes or throat? That works. Your phone as a striking surface? That works. A pen stabbed into an attacker's hand or thigh? Extremely effective. He was patient but demanding, making her repeat movements until they became muscle memory. When she got frustrated with her limitations, he reminded her that adaptation was its own skill. You think having one working arm makes you helpless? Tell that to people who've won fights with broken legs, stab wounds, gunshots. Your brain is your best weapon. Your body is just the tool that executes what your brain decides. Between training sessions, Lena moved into the townhouse. It was beautiful. 2 bedrooms, exposed brick, a small garden out back. The security system was more sophisticated than anything she'd seen outside of movies. Cameras, motion sensors, reinforced doors, panic buttons in every room. Overkill? She asked when Katja walked her through the features. Thorough, Katja corrected. And necessary. Marcus made bail yesterday. The news hit Lena like a physical blow. He's out? He's out, with an ankle monitor and strict orders to stay away from you. But men like him don't always follow orders. Katja's expression was grim. That's why we have cameras, and why Adrian has people watching. People watching? You mean he has someone following Marcus? I mean, Adrian takes your safety seriously. Don't ask for details you don't need to know. Lena wanted to argue, wanted to demand transparency, but part of her was simply grateful. Marcus was out there, free to move around, and knowing someone was making sure he didn't come near her let her breathe a little easier. She returned to work on Monday of her 3rd week away. Her students rushed her the moment she walked into the classroom, a tsunami of 6-year-olds asking where she'd been and why she had a splint, and did it hurt and could they sign it. I had an accident, she told them, the lie coming easier than she expected. But I'm all better now. Mrs. Henderson pulled her aside during lunch. You look different. I had a rough couple weeks. No, I don't mean that. You look stronger somehow, more present. The older woman studied her carefully. Whatever you went through, it seems like you came out the other side. Lena wasn't sure about that. Some days she felt strong. Other days she woke up crying, grieving not for Marcus but for the time she'd lost, the person she'd become in his shadow. Adrian had arranged for her to see a therapist, another person in his network of professionals who specialized in trauma survivors. Doctor. Sarah Chen met with her twice a week in an office that felt more like a living room. She didn't push, didn't pry, just created space for Lena to process everything at her own pace. "You're angry," Dr. Chen observed during their fourth session. "That's good. Anger is appropriate. The question is what you do with it." "Adrian's teaching me to fight." "And how does that feel?" Lena considered the question. "Empowering, terrifying, like I'm becoming someone new and I'm not sure I recognize her yet." "Maybe you're not becoming someone new. Maybe you're becoming who you always were before you learned to make yourself smaller." The words stayed with Lena. Had she always been this person? Or had Marcus's violence forged something new in her? She wasn't sure it mattered. What mattered was moving forward. Her evening routine became as structured as her mornings. Home from work, dinner, review security footage with Adrian via video call, practice the movements he'd taught her, read before bed. It was monk-like in its discipline, but the structure felt safe, comforting. On a Friday night, 5 weeks after that first desperate text, Adrian invited her to dinner at his penthouse. When she arrived, she found he'd cooked, actual cooking, not takeout, with the table set for two. "You cook?" She couldn't hide her surprise. "I'm a man of many talents." He pulled out her chair. "Sit. I promise it's not poisoned." The meal was excellent, some kind of Russian dish with beef and mushrooms that he said his grandmother used to make. They ate in comfortable silence for a while before Adrian spoke. "You're doing well. Better than I expected." "Was your expectation that low?" "My expectation was realistic. Most people in your situation take months to find their footing. You've done it in weeks." He refilled her wine glass. "I'm impressed." The praise warmed her more than it should have. "I had a good teacher." "You had motivation. That matters more than teaching." Adrian set down his fork. "I want to show you something." He led her to his office and pulled up a file on his computer, surveillance photos of Marcus. At work, at a bar, at his apartment, all of them time-stamped over the past few weeks. "He's looking for you," Adrian said. "He drove past your old apartment 16 times, went to your mother's house twice, sat outside Riverside Elementary for 3 hours last Tuesday." Lena's blood went cold. "He was at my school?" "Security escorted him off the property. He didn't approach you or the building, just sat in his car watching." Adrian's expression was hard. "He's obsessing, getting more desperate, which makes him more dangerous." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to know what you're dealing with. This isn't over, Lena. He's not going to give up and move on. Men like Marcus don't work that way." The fear she'd been holding at bay came flooding back. "So what do I do?" "You stay alert. Trust your training, and you trust me to handle him." "Handle him how?" Adrian closed the file. "That conversation requires a level of trust we haven't reached yet." "You want me to blindly trust you?" "I want you to decide if you trust me at all. And if you do, then yes, trust that I know how to deal with men like Marcus without you having to get your hands dirty." Lena looked at the closed file, then at Adrian. This man who'd saved her life, trained her, protected her, asked nothing in return. This man who existed in moral gray areas she didn't fully understand, but whose actions toward her had been nothing but honorable. "I trust you," she said quietly. "I don't understand you. Don't fully know you, but I trust you." Something shifted in Adrian's expression, a softening around his eyes, a barely perceptible relaxation in his shoulders. "Thank you. Now tell me how you're going to handle Marcus." "No." "Adrian, plausible deniability exists for a reason. If you don't know the details, you can't be held responsible for them, legally or morally." He guided her out of the office. "Trust me to do what needs doing. That's all I'm asking." She wanted to argue, to demand answers, but some instinct told her to let it go. Whatever Adrian had planned, it lived in a world she didn't want to enter, a world where problems were solved through methods she was better off not knowing. 2 nights later, Lena woke to her phone ringing at 2 a.m. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Lena." Marcus's voice was slurred, desperate. "Baby, please." I need to talk to you. She should have hung up immediately, should have called Adrian or the police or both. Instead, she found herself frozen, unable to move. I miss you so much, Marcus continued. I can't sleep, can't eat, can't think about anything but you. Why won't you talk to me? Why won't you give me another chance? You broke my arm, Marcus. I know, and I hate myself for it. I'm in therapy now, real therapy. I'm getting help. I'm changing. He was crying. Please, Lena, I love you. Doesn't that mean anything? It should have. Once upon a time, those words would have broken her resolve, pulled her back into the cycle. But now, with weeks of distance and clarity, she heard them differently. Not as love, but as manipulation. Not as genuine remorse, but as another tactic to regain control. How did you get this number? What? That doesn't matter. What matters is us. We can fix this. We can be good again. We were never good, Marcus. I was just too scared to see it. Don't say that. His voice hardened. Don't rewrite our history because you're listening to that Russian bastard. He's poisoning you against me. Adrian saved my life. I'm the one who loved you, took care of you, gave you everything, Marcus was shouting now. And you threw it away for some stranger with money? Is that what you are? A gold digger who... Lena hung up. Her hands were shaking, but it wasn't from fear. It was rage. How dare he? How dare he call her at 2 a.m., drunk and pathetic, expecting her to comfort him after what he'd done? She called Adrian. He answered on the first ring, voice alert despite the hour. What's wrong? Marcus called. I don't know how he got my number again, but he called. Did he threaten you? No, just the usual guilt trip and manipulation. She paced her bedroom, adrenaline making it impossible to sit still. I hung up on him, and I'm not sorry. Good. You shouldn't be. She heard movement on his end, rustling, footsteps. I'm coming over. You don't have to... I'm already in my car. He arrived 20 minutes later, and Lena buzzed him through the gate. She met him at the door in pajamas and bare feet, still too wound up to care about appearances. Adrian looked her over carefully. Are you okay? I'm furious. The admission felt good. He called me a gold digger, said you're poisoning me against him, had the audacity to say he loved me after everything he did. That's what abusers do, rewrite reality to make themselves the victim. Well, I'm done being his victim, and I'm done being afraid. Lena grabbed her phone and pulled up Marcus's number. I'm going to tell him exactly what I think of him. Adrian gently took the phone from her hand. That's anger talking. It feels good in the moment, but gives him exactly what he wants. Your attention, your energy, a reaction he can use to justify his behavior. So I'm just supposed to ignore him? No, you're supposed to let the legal system handle him. The call you just received violated his restraining order. That's grounds for arrest. Adrian pulled out his own phone. I'm calling my contact at the police department now. He'll file the report, have Marcus picked up within the hour. Lena watched him make the call, speaking in that calm, authoritative tone that brooked no argument. When he hung up, he looked at her. He'll spend the night in jail. Probably get released tomorrow with stricter monitoring, but it sends a message. That I'm not alone. That you're protected. There's a difference. Adrian pocketed his phone. Alone implies vulnerability. Protected implies strength. They sat on her couch, the pre-dawn darkness pressing against the windows. Lena's anger had burned itself out, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I thought I'd feel better by now, she admitted. I'm safe. I'm healing. I have a job I love and a home and support. So why do I still feel broken? Because healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll feel exactly like you did in that bathroom. Adrian's voice was gentle. That's normal. Expected even. The key is not letting the bad days convince you that you're not making progress. How do you know so much about this? He was quiet for a moment. I told you someone I cared about was in a situation like yours. What I didn't tell you is that afterward, I spent years learning everything I could about domestic violence, trauma recovery, survivor psychology. I read every book, consulted with every expert, built a network of therapists and lawyers and security specialists. Also, the next time someone needed help, I'd know how to give it. How many people have you helped? You're the 7th in 3 years. And the others? Are they okay? Most of them, yes. Living their lives, moved on. A few still check in occasionally. One sends me a Christmas card every year with pictures of her kids. His expression softened. They survive. They rebuild. Just like you're doing. Lena leaned her head against his shoulder without thinking, then tensed, unsure if the gesture was appropriate. Adrian didn't pull away or make it awkward. He simply sat there, solid and steady, letting her take whatever comfort she needed. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything, for coming when I needed you, for not giving up on me, for being patient while I figure out who I am now. You don't need to thank me. This is what people do for each other. Or what they should do anyway." He shifted slightly. "Though I should probably go before your neighbors see my car and start rumors." Lena laughed, the sound surprising her. When was the last time she'd laughed? "Let them talk. I've survived worse than neighborhood gossip." Adrian left a few minutes later, but the comfort of his presence lingered. Lena went back to bed and, for the first time since Marcus's call, slept dreamlessly until her alarm went off. The weeks blurred together in a rhythm of work, training, therapy, and slow, steady healing. Lena's arm mended, her bruises faded. The nightmares came less frequently. She reconnected with friends she'd lost touch with during her time with Marcus, tentatively rebuilding a social life. Adrian remained a constant presence, not hovering, not controlling, but there. He checked in daily, continued their training sessions, shared meals with her twice a week. Somewhere along the way, those meals stopped feeling like obligation and started feeling like something else, something neither of them acknowledged, but both seemed to feel. 3 months after that first desperate text, Lena stood in her bathroom getting ready for a dinner party at Adrian's penthouse. Katya had helped organize it, a gathering of the people who'd helped Lena rebuild her life. Dr. Chen would be there, Mrs. Henderson, a few teachers from school who'd become genuine friends. Lena studied herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was different from the one who'd cowered in Marcus's bathroom. This woman stood straight, met her own eyes without flinching, wore her scars, physical and emotional, like proof of survival rather than marks of shame. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. "Running late. Katya will let you in. Make yourself comfortable." She smiled and grabbed her keys. The drive to Adrian's building felt different now, familiar rather than foreign. The doorman knew her by name. The elevator recognized her fingerprint. When she stepped into the penthouse, she found it already buzzing with activity. Katya was directing caterers. Dr. Chen stood by the windows with a glass of wine. Mrs. Henderson laughed at something one of Lena's co-workers said. These were her people, her community, the life she'd built from the ashes of the old one. "Lena!" Dr. Chen waved her over. "Come tell Mrs. Henderson about the self-defense class you're starting at the school." As Lena joined them, explaining the after-school program she and Adrian had developed to teach basic safety skills to students and parents, she felt something click into place. This was it. This was the life she'd fought for. Not perfect, not without scars, but hers. Chosen. Built on her own terms. Adrian arrived an hour later, apologizing for his delay with a story about a client emergency. He caught Lena's eye across the room and smiled. A real smile, warm and genuine. She smiled back, feeling something flutter in her chest that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with possibility. The party stretched late into the night. People shared stories, laughed, connected. Around midnight, Lena found herself on Adrian's balcony, looking out over the city. He joined her a few minutes later, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. "Quite a turnout," he observed, handing her a glass. "You organized all this?" "Katya organized it. I just paid for it." He leaned against the railing beside her. "But I'm glad everyone came. You deserve to be celebrated." "For what? Surviving? That's the bare minimum. For thriving, for taking everything that happened and using it as fuel instead of letting it destroy you. That's not the bare minimum. That's extraordinary." They stood in comfortable silence, the city lights spread out before them like scattered stars. Lena felt the question hovering between them, the thing neither had acknowledged, but both felt growing stronger with each passing week. "Adrian, The balcony door burst open. Katya stood there, her face pale, phone in hand. "We have a problem. Marcus cut off his ankle monitor. He's in the wind." The champagne glass slipped from Lena's hand, shattering against the balcony floor. Adrian was already moving, pulling his phone from his pocket as he strode back inside. The party noise seemed to dim, conversations fading to background static, as Lena's world narrowed to a single point of crystalline terror. Marcus was free. Marcus was coming. "Everyone needs to leave," Adrian said, his voice cutting through the room with quiet authority. "Now, Katya will escort you out." "Mrs." Henderson started to protest. "But what's—" "There's a security situation. Please, I need you all to go." Adrian's tone brooked no argument. Within minutes, Katya was ushering confused guests toward the elevator, offering apologies and promises of explanation later. Dr. Chen paused beside Lena. "Are you safe here?" Lena looked at Adrian, who was speaking rapidly into his phone in Russian, his free hand already pulling up security feeds on his laptop. "Yes, I'm safe." The doctor nodded and followed the others out. The penthouse emptied quickly, leaving only Lena, Adrian, and Katya. The silence felt heavy, oppressive. "When did he cut it?" Adrian demanded into the phone. He listened, jaw tightening. 2 hours ago, and you're just telling me now?" More listening. "Find him. I don't care what it takes. Call me the second you have a location." He hung up and immediately dialed another number. "It's Volkov. I need eyes on 3 locations: 2847 Riverside Drive, Apartment 4B, 156 Maple Street, and Riverside Elementary School. If you see Marcus Webb, you call me before you call the police. Understood?" Lena's mind raced. "Maple Street. That's my mother's house. Why would he go there?" "Because he's looking for leverage. Ways to hurt you. Ways to force you to contact him." Adrian pulled up more screens, cycling through camera feeds. "Katya, I want full security on Lena's townhouse. No one gets within 100 yards. "Already done. I have 2 men posted outside and another monitoring the gate." Katya's calm efficiency was almost as reassuring as Adrian's controlled intensity. "What about the school?" "Security company patrols it overnight anyway, but I've told them to double up. If he shows, they'll handle it." Lena felt like she was watching this happen to someone else. The careful life she'd built over 3 months was crumbling again, all because Marcus couldn't let go. All because she'd dared to leave him. "This is my fault," she said quietly. Adrian's head snapped up. "What?" "I should have pressed charges harder, should have pushed for longer jail time, should have—" "Stop." Adrian crossed to her in 3 strides. "This is not your fault. Marcus made his choices. He cut off that monitor. He violated his parole. He decided to throw away his freedom because he can't accept that he doesn't own you. None of that is on you." "But if I hadn't left, you'd be dead or broken or so thoroughly destroyed you wouldn't recognize yourself." His hands gripped her shoulders gently. "You did the right thing, the only thing. Don't you dare take responsibility for his actions." Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her blood went cold. Adrian saw her expression. "Don't answer it." But she was already swiping to accept, some terrible instinct telling her she needed to hear this. "Hello?" "Lena." Marcus's voice was eerily calm. Not drunk this time, not crying or pleading, just cold. "I know you're with him. I know everything. Where you live, where you work. That little self-defense class you're so proud of." "Marcus, please. I've been patient, given you space to realize your mistake, but you're not coming back, are you?" He laughed, bitter and sharp. "You actually think you can just move on, build a new life, forget about me?" Adrian was already tracing the call on his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. He held up 5 fingers. "Keep him talking 5 minutes." "I don't want to forget about you," Lena lied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I just need time to heal. You hurt me, Marcus. Badly. I can't just pretend that didn't happen." "I hurt you? What about what you did to me? You humiliated me. Had your Russian thug break my shoulder, got me arrested, cost me my job, turned everyone against me." His voice rose with each accusation. "You destroyed my life, Lena. You broke my arm. You put me in the hospital. Because you made me crazy. You always knew exactly what to say to push my buttons. You wanted me to lose control so you'd have an excuse to leave." There it was. The classic abuser's logic. Somehow her injuries were her fault. Her fear was manipulation. Her survival was betrayal. Adrian held up 3 fingers. "Where are you, Marcus?" Lena asked, trying to sound concerned rather than terrified. "Are you safe?" "Safe?" You care if I'm safe now? He laughed again, and the sound made her skin crawl. Don't worry about me. Worry about that smug bastard you're living with. Worry about what happens when I find you. Because I will find you, Lena. And when I do, you're going to remember who you belong to. The line went dead. Adrian was already on his feet. He's at a gas station on Route 9, about 15 minutes from here. Police are en route, but... He grabbed his jacket. I'm going. Adrian, no. Let the police handle it. The police will arrest him. I'm going to make sure he understands what happens if he comes near you again. His expression was hard, dangerous. This was the man who dislocated Marcus's shoulder without breaking a sweat. The man who existed in the spaces between legal and necessary. You'll kill him! Lena didn't know how she knew, but she did. No, but I'll make him wish I had. Adrian headed for the elevator, then paused. Katya stays with you. Don't leave this apartment. Don't answer your phone. Don't open the door for anyone but me. Understand? Lena nodded, unable to speak. He was gone before she could say anything else. The elevator descended, taking him toward whatever confrontation awaited. Lena sank onto the couch, her legs suddenly unable to hold her weight. Katya appeared with a glass of water and a blanket. He'll be fine. Adrian knows what he's doing. I'm not worried about Adrian. That was a lie. She was terrified for him. I'm worried about what he'll do, what it'll cost him. Some things are worth the cost. Katya sat beside her. You think you're the first person he's protected like this? You think those other 6 people he helped all had easy, clean resolutions where everyone walked away happy? What happened to them? They lived. They survived. That's what matters. The details of how... Katya shrugged. Those stay buried where they belong. They waited in tense silence. Lena watched the security feeds, looking for threats that might not come. Every car that passed on the street below made her jump. Every shadow seemed menacing. 40 minutes later, Adrian's name flashed on the screen. Katya answered on speaker. Status? Marcus is in custody. Resisted arrest. Made it easy for them. Adrian's voice was tight, controlled. I'm heading back. ETA, 20 minutes. Are you hurt? No, but Marcus might need medical attention before they book him. Katya's expression didn't change, but Lena saw the slight nod. Whatever Adrian had done, it had been thorough. When he returned, his knuckles were bruised and there was blood on his shirt. Not his own, Lena noted. He went straight to the bathroom to clean up. Emerging 10 minutes later in fresh clothes, the evidence of violence erased. He won't bother you again, Adrian said simply. What did you do? I had a conversation with him, made certain things very clear. Adrian, you don't want details, Lena. Trust me on this. He poured himself a drink, the first time she'd seen him need alcohol to steady himself. He's going back to jail, this time for a long time. Violation of parole, evading arrest, making terroristic threats. His lawyer is already talking plea deal. How long? 3 to 5 years minimum, probably more. 3 to 5 years. It should have felt like relief. Instead, Lena felt numb. This nightmare that had consumed her life was ending not with resolution, but with more violence, more fear, more damage stacking on top of damage. I need air, she said, standing abruptly. Lena. But she was already out on the balcony, gulping in the cool night air, trying to remember how to breathe. Behind her, she heard Katya say something to Adrian in Russian, followed by the elevator doors closing. Then Adrian was beside her, keeping a careful distance. I thought I'd feel different when this ended, Lena said. Relieved, happy, something. But I just feel tired. That's normal. You've been running on adrenaline for months. Now that the immediate threat is gone, your body's crashing. Adrian leaned against the railing. Give it time. The relief will come. Will it? Or will I just spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder waiting for the next Marcus? Maybe. Trauma changes you. You can't go back to who you were before. He paused. But you can build something new, something stronger. Lena looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd appeared in her life like a guardian angel or avenging demon, depending on the perspective. Who'd saved her, trained her, protected her, asked for nothing in return. Who'd just driven across town to confront her abuser and returned with bloody knuckles and no regrets. Why? She asked. Why do you do this? And don't give me the story about the person you couldn't save. There's more to it than that. Adrian was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw in a way she'd never heard. Her name was Irina, my sister. He stared out at the city. Back in Russia, before I came here, she married a man who seemed perfect, charming, successful, everything my family wanted for her. But behind closed doors, he was a monster. Lena's chest tightened. I was young, stupid. Believed her when she said everything was fine, that the bruises were from being clumsy. She was protecting me, I realize now. Didn't want me to do something that would get me killed or arrested. He gripped the railing, knuckles white. One night it went too far. He beat her so badly she didn't wake up. By the time I found out, she was already gone. Adrian, I'm so sorry. I killed him. The words hung in the air, simple and terrible. Walked into his house and beat him to death with my bare hands. Spent 2 years in prison for it. When I got out, I came here, started over, built a life. But I swore I'd never ignore the signs again. Never tell myself it wasn't my business. Never let another person suffer because I was too afraid or too proud to act. Lena understood then. This wasn't charity or savior complex. This was penance, atonement. Adrian couldn't save his sister, so he saved everyone else. You don't owe me your guilt, she said softly. I don't help you out of guilt. I help you because it's right. He finally looked at her. But yes, part of me sees Irina in every person I pull out of situations like yours. And part of me will always be that young man who arrived too late. She moved closer, closing the distance between them. You weren't too late for me. No, I wasn't. They stood there on the balcony as the city breathed around them, two damaged people finding unexpected solace in each other. Lena had come into Adrian's life through chaos and desperation. She'd stayed through healing and growth. And now, standing here in the aftermath of another crisis, she realized something fundamental had shifted. This wasn't gratitude she felt, wasn't dependence or trauma bonding or any of the things Dr. Chen had warned her to watch for. This was something else entirely, something that made her pulse quicken and her breath catch, something that felt like the beginning of a story rather than the end of one. I should probably go home, she said, not moving. You should probably stay here tonight, just in case. Adrian's voice was careful, neutral. Guest room is still yours. Right, just in case. Neither of them moved. Adrian? Yes? When I'm healed, really healed, when enough time has passed that this isn't complicated or inappropriate or any of the things it probably is right now, she met his eyes. Ask me to dinner, not as a training session or a check-in, as a date. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, pleasure, carefully controlled hope. How much time? I don't know, months probably. However long it takes for me to be sure I'm choosing you because I want you, not because you saved me. That's very rational. Dr. Chen would be proud. Lena smiled. But I wanted you to know, so you're not wondering, so you know that this, she gestured between them, isn't just in my head. It's not in your head. Adrian's voice was quiet but certain. And I'll wait, however long it takes. They went inside. Katya had left at some point, discreet as always. Adrian showed Lena to the guest room, the same one she'd stayed in that first terrible night. It felt different now. Less like a refuge and more like a waypoint. Get some rest, Adrian said from the doorway. Tomorrow we'll figure out the details. Restraining order updates, security protocols, all the boring logistics. Boring but necessary. Exactly. He hesitated. Lena, what you said on the balcony about waiting until you're healed, that's not just rational, it's brave. Most people wouldn't have that kind of self-awareness. I've had a good therapist. You've had good instincts. The therapist just helped you listen to them. He smiled, soft and genuine. Good night. Good night, Adrian. She closed the door and leaned against it, her heart pounding for entirely different reasons than fear. For the first time in months, maybe years, she felt something like excitement for the future. Not terror about what might happen, but anticipation for what could happen. The next morning brought bureaucracy, lawyers, police reports, updated restraining orders. Marcus had been formally charged and denied bail. The evidence was overwhelming: the cut ankle monitor, the threatening phone calls, the witness statements from Adrian and Katya. His public defender was already working on a plea agreement. He'll likely take it, Adrian's lawyer explained during their meeting. Going to trial would mean harsher sentencing. With the plea, he's looking at 3 to 5. With good behavior, maybe out in 2. 2 years, Lena absorbed this. And then what? He just gets to walk free? With parole restrictions, mandatory therapy, continued restraining orders. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Moss, slid papers across the table. But honestly, men like Marcus Webb don't usually reoffend after serious jail time. They find new targets, move on. The casual cruelty of that statement, that Marcus would just find someone else to hurt, made Lena sick. But it also crystallized something. This couldn't just be about her survival. It had to be about prevention, about making sure other women didn't end up hiding in bathrooms, texting wrong numbers, praying for salvation. Over the following weeks, that idea took root and grew. Lena threw herself into the self-defense program at Riverside Elementary, expanding it from an after-school activity to a full community initiative. She partnered with local women's shelters, offering free classes, applied for grants to develop curriculum, started a blog sharing her story, anonymously at first, then gradually more openly. Adrian supported every initiative, connecting her with resources and funding, but he also stepped back, letting her build this on her own terms. Their training sessions continued, but the dynamic had shifted. He was no longer her protector, but her partner, not teaching her to survive, but helping her thrive. 4 months after Marcus went to jail, Lena spoke at a fundraiser for domestic violence survivors. She stood at a podium in front of 200 people and told her story, the abuse, the escape, the recovery. She talked about the wrong number text that saved her life, about the stranger who became her teacher, about the slow, painful process of becoming whole again. When she finished, the standing ovation brought tears to her eyes. But it was the line of women who approached her afterward that really mattered. Women with stories like hers, women still trapped, women who needed to know that escape was possible. "How did you do it?" one woman asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "How did you find the courage to leave?" "I didn't find courage," Lena told her honestly. "I found desperation. And then I found help. And then, slowly, I found myself again." She pulled out her phone and sent the woman's contact information to Katya, who'd taken on coordinating resources for survivors. "You don't have to do it alone. Let us help you." Adrian watched from the back of the room, his expression unreadable. When the event ended and they walked to his car, he finally spoke. "You were extraordinary up there." "I was terrified." Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. He opened her car door. "I'm proud of you." The words settled warm in her chest. She'd accomplished things over the past months. Returned to work, built a program, helped other women, testified against Marcus, started reclaiming her life piece by piece. But hearing Adrian say he was proud made it all feel real. They drove in comfortable silence until Adrian pulled up not to her townhouse, but to a small Italian restaurant tucked into a quiet neighborhood. "I know we said we'd wait," he began, turning off the engine, "but watching you tonight, seeing how far you've come, I thought maybe enough time has passed. Maybe you're healed enough. Maybe we could—" "Yes." Lena didn't let him finish. "Yes to dinner. Yes to whatever this is. Yes." His smile transformed his entire face. "I was prepared to make a whole speech." "Save it for the second date." She unbuckled her seatbelt, suddenly nervous in a way that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with possibility. "Though I should warn you, I'm a lot of work. Baggage, trauma, trust issues galore. I have killed a man and spent 2 years in a Russian prison. I think we're evenly matched." Adrian came around to open her door. "Besides, I like complicated women. Simple ones bore me." Dinner was perfect. Not because the food was exceptional or the atmosphere romantic, but because it was easy, natural. They talked about everything and nothing: books, movies, childhood memories, dreams for the future. For 2 hours, Lena forgot to be the survivor or the advocate or the woman rebuilding her life. She was just herself, sitting across from a man who saw all her broken pieces and wanted to know her anyway. When he drove her home, Adrian walked her to the door but didn't try to come inside. Didn't push for more than the evening had been. "I'd like to do this again," he said, "if you would." I would. Lena stepped closer. But next time, I'm picking the restaurant. You chose Italian, I choose Thai. Fair enough. She kissed him then, quick and soft, a promise rather than a culmination. When she pulled back, his eyes had darkened, but his smile was gentle. Good night, Lena. Good night, Adrian. She watched him drive away before going inside, her heart lighter than it had been in years. The townhouse felt different now. Not like a safe house or a hiding place, but like a home. Her home. A space she'd chosen and claimed and filled with her own life. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number made her tense for a moment before she opened it. Thank you for tonight. For sharing your story. I left my husband this morning. I'm scared, but I'm safe. Just wanted you to know you made a difference. Lena saved the number, added it to her growing list of women she'd helped connect with resources. Then she sent a quick reply. You made the hardest choice. Now let us help with the rest. You're not alone. She set her phone aside and looked around her living room. The security cameras she'd once found oppressive now felt protective. The panic buttons were precautions, not prisons. The quiet was peaceful, not isolating. This was her life now, built from the ruins of what came before. Forged in pain but tempered with strength. Not perfect, not without scars, but wholly, completely hers. And tomorrow, she'd wake up and live it again. On her own terms. In her own time. With people she chose by her side. Starting with a man who'd answered a wrong number and changed everything. 6 months after that first date, Lena stood in the warehouse district at 2 a.m, her heart pounding in a way that had nothing to do with romance and everything to do with raw, primal fear. The evening had started normally enough. Dinner with Adrian at their favorite Vietnamese restaurant, the one they'd discovered on their 4th date and returned to religiously ever since. They'd laughed over spring rolls, debated the merits of different faux bras, and made plans for the weekend. Adrian had a security consultation in Boston, but promised to be back by Saturday for the community self-defense workshop Lena was leading. He'd walked her to her car, kissed her goodnight in that slow, thorough way that still made her knees weak, and waited until she'd driven away before heading to his own vehicle. Standard routine. Safe and comfortable and utterly ordinary. Except the van that had blocked her car 3 blocks from her townhouse was anything but ordinary. 4 men. Professional. Fast. They'd pulled her from her vehicle before she could hit the panic button on her keychain, before she could scream, before she could do any of the things Adrian had trained her for. A cloth over her mouth, chemical sweet and suffocating. The world tilting sideways. Darkness. She'd woken in this warehouse, zip-tied to a metal chair, her head pounding and her mouth dry. The space was vast and empty, lit by harsh fluorescent lights that flickered intermittently. Shipping containers lined the walls. The floor was concrete, stained with things she didn't want to identify. And across from her, sitting calmly in his own chair like they were having tea instead of a kidnapping, was a man she'd never seen before. Late 50s, expensive suit, cold eyes that assessed her like she was a problem to be solved rather than a person. Ms. Carter, he said in accented English, Russian, like Adrian's, but harsher. Forgive the dramatic entrance. I needed your full attention. Lena tested the zip ties. Tight, but not impossibly so. She could feel the small blade Adrian had sewn into the waistband of all her pants, a precaution she'd thought paranoid at the time. Now it felt like salvation, if she could just reach it. Who are you? Her voice came out steadier than she felt. My name is Dmitry Sokolov. I doubt that means anything to you, but it will mean a great deal to Adrian Volkov. He smiled, and it was the smile of a shark. You see, Adrian and I have history, business that ended badly, debts that remain unpaid. I don't know anything about Adrian's business. I know you're innocent, collateral, but sometimes innocent people are the most effective leverage. Dmitry stood and began pacing, his expensive shoes clicking against concrete. Adrian cost me a great deal of money 2 years ago, stole clients, sabotaged contracts, built his little empire on the ruins of mine. Lena's mind raced. Adrian had never mentioned enemies like this, had never suggested his business involved the kind of people who kidnapped innocent women in the middle of the night. So this is what? Revenge? This is business. I take something he values. He returns what he took from me. Simple transaction. Dmitry checked his watch. I've already sent him your location. He should be here in approximately... He paused, tilting his head as if listening. Actually, he's early. Impressive. The warehouse door exploded inward with a crash that made Lena's ears ring. Adrian stormed through, flanked by 4 men she recognized from his security team. He was dressed in all black again, the way he'd been that first night, and his expression was murder incarnate. "Let her go, Dmitri." Adrian's voice cut through the warehouse like a blade. "Now." "Adrian? So good to see you again." Dmitri moved behind Lena's chair, his hand resting on her shoulder. She fought not to flinch. "I was just explaining to Ms. Carter how you destroyed my business. I'm sure she'd love to hear your version." "This is between us. She has nothing to do with it. She has everything to do with it. You care about her. That makes her valuable." Dimitri's fingers tightened on her shoulder. "I've done my research, Adrian. 7 women over 3 years. You save them, protect them, then move on to the next. But this one is different, isn't she? This one you kept." Adrian's jaw clenched, but his voice remained controlled. "What do you want?" "The Volkov files. Every piece of information you collected on me and my associates. Every transaction record, every contact, every dirty secret you plan to use against me." Dmitri leaned down, his breath hot on Lena's ear. She held herself rigid, refusing to show fear. "You give me those files, you walk away. Everyone lives. Simple. And if I don't? Then I kill her. Then I kill the next woman you try to save. And the next, until you understand that some debts come due eventually." Lena watched Adrian process this. She could see the calculation in his eyes, risk versus reward, tactical options, probability of success. This was the man who dislocated Marcus's shoulder without hesitation. The man who'd spent 2 years in prison for killing his sister's abuser. The man who existed in the gray spaces between legal and necessary. But she could also see something else. Fear. Real, genuine fear that she might be hurt, that he might be too late this time, the way he'd been too late for Irina. "Don't do it," Lena said clearly. "Don't give him anything." Dmitri laughed. "Brave. I like that. Adrian, you chose well this time." "The files for her safety," Adrian said, ignoring the comment. "That's the deal?" "That's the deal." "Fine. The files are in my car. I'll get them." "No. You'll tell one of your men where they are. You stay where I can see you." Dmitri pulled a gun from his jacket and pressed it against Lena's temple. The metal was cold, final. "Just in case you get creative ideas." Adrian's expression went blank, but Lena saw his hands clench. "The files are in a locked case in my trunk. Black briefcase, combination is 7429. Yuri, go." One of Adrian's men nodded and headed for the door. The warehouse fell into tense silence, broken only by the hum of fluorescent lights and Lena's carefully controlled breathing. She was working her wrists against the zip ties, creating friction, trying to loosen them even fractionally. Adrian's eyes met hers across the space. In that moment of connection, she saw him convey everything he couldn't say aloud. "Trust the training. Stay ready. I've got you." She gave the tiniest nod. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. When Yuri returned with the briefcase, Dmitri gestured him forward. "Open it. Show me." Yuri set the case on the floor and input the combination. It clicked open, revealing stacks of folders and several USB drives. Dmitri smiled, genuine pleasure crossing his face. "Excellent. You see? Business doesn't have to be complicated." He kept the gun against Lena's head but reached down with his free hand to examine the files. "Everything's here. Transactions from Prague, the Singapore deals, even the..." He never finished the sentence. Adrian moved like lightning, closing the distance between them in seconds. At the same moment, Lena threw her weight backward, tipping the chair and herself away from Dmitri's gun. She hit the concrete hard, but the impact snapped the chair legs, giving her enough slack to wrench her hands free. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Adrian's team engaged Dmitri's men in brutal, efficient combat. Gunshots echoed off metal walls. Lena rolled away from the fighting, fumbling for the blade sewn into her waistband. Her fingers finally found it, and she sawed frantically at the zip ties on her ankles. Dmitri was grappling with Adrian, both men fighting for control of the gun. They were evenly matched. Dmitri was older but viciously skilled. Adrian younger but fighting with the desperation of a man protecting what he loved. The gun went off. Lena's heart stopped. But both men were still standing, still fighting. The bullet had gone wide, embedding itself in a shipping container. Lena freed her ankles and stood, her body moving on pure instinct and months of training. She grabbed a length of pipe from the floor, rusty and heavy, and moved toward the fight. Dmitri had Adrian pinned against a container, his forearm pressed against Adrian's throat, the gun swinging back toward his face. She didn't think, just swung the pipe with everything she had. It connected with Dmitri's shoulder with a sickening crunch. He roared in pain and rage, spinning toward her, the gun tracking in her direction. Time seemed to slow. She saw his finger tightening on the trigger, saw the cold calculation in his eyes as he decided she was a threat that needed eliminating. Then Adrian was there, his hand closing over Dmitri's gun hand, wrenching it upward. The shot went high, harmless. Adrian twisted and something in Dmitri's wrist snapped audibly. The gun clattered to the floor. "That's for threatening her," Adrian said, his voice arctic. He drove his elbow into Dmitri's solar plexus, doubling the older man over. "That's for touching her." A knee to the face sent Dmitri sprawling. "And that's for making me watch helplessly while you held a gun to her head." Dmitri lay on the concrete, bleeding and broken. Around them, the fighting had stopped. Dmitri's men were either unconscious or restrained by Adrian's team. The warehouse was secured. Adrian turned to Lena, his expression transforming from violence to concern in an instant. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Adrenaline was crashing through her system, making her hands shake and her knees weak. Adrian crossed to her and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight enough that she could feel his heart hammering against her chest. "You're safe," he murmured into her hair. "I've got you. You're safe." Lena held on to him, letting herself have this moment of weakness, this moment of being held and protected. But even as she did, she felt something shift inside her. She'd been taken, threatened, had a gun pressed to her head, and she'd fought back. She'd tipped the chair, freed herself, grabbed a weapon, and taken action when it mattered most. She wasn't the woman who'd hidden in a bathroom anymore, wasn't even the woman who'd needed saving 6 months ago. She was someone new, someone stronger. "I hit him with a pipe," she said against Adrian's chest. "I noticed. Perfect form. I'm very proud." "I was terrified." "But you acted anyway. That's the definition of courage." He pulled back to look at her, his hands framing her face. "You saved my life. If you hadn't hit him when you did, don't think about what could have happened. We're both here. We're both safe." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Adrian glanced at the warehouse entrance. "Police will want statements. This is going to be complicated." "When is it not with you?" Lena managed a shaky smile. Over the next hours, they gave statements to police. Dmitri and his men were arrested on kidnapping, attempted murder, and a dozen other charges. The Volkov files turned out to be partly real evidence and partly bait, enough genuine information to convince Dmitri they were authentic, but nothing that would actually damage Adrian's business or compromise his clients. "You planned this," Lena accused him as they finally left the police station at dawn. "You knew he'd come after me." "I knew he might. I've had increased security on you for weeks, extra surveillance. I just didn't think he'd be bold enough to grab you in the middle of the city." Adrian's expression was grim. "I underestimated him. That almost cost you everything." "But it didn't. I'm fine." "You're not fine. You were kidnapped and traumatized, and I handled it." Lena stopped him on the precinct steps, forcing him to look at her. "Adrian, I handled it. Yes, I was scared. Yes, it was awful, but I didn't fall apart. I stayed alert, worked on freeing myself, and fought back when I had the chance. That's growth. That's strength. You shouldn't have had to, but I did, and I survived it." She took his hands. "You can't protect me from everything. Bad things happen. Dangerous people exist. But you've given me the tools to handle it. That's all anyone can do." Adrian pulled her close, and she felt him shaking. Delayed reaction, fear he hadn't allowed himself to feel in the moment. "When I got that text with your location, when I realized Dmitri had you, I've never been that scared. Not even when Irina—" His voice broke. "But you came. Just like you came that first night when I sent that wrong text. You came, and you brought help, and we handled it together." Lena pulled back to meet his eyes. That's what we do now. We handle things together. He kissed her then, there on the police station steps in the early morning light, with the city waking up around them. It was desperate and grateful, and full of promises neither of them had words for yet. When they finally pulled apart, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. I love you. I know it's too soon. I know we said we'd take this slow, but I need you to know, I love you too. The words came easily, naturally. I think I have for a while now. I was just afraid to say it, afraid it was gratitude or dependence, or it's not. No, it's not. Lena smiled. It's just love. Complicated and messy and built on chaos, but real. They went back to Adrian's penthouse, both too wired for sleep. Katya met them there with coffee and breakfast, taking one look at them and wisely saying nothing about their disheveled appearance or the haunted look in their eyes. Dmitri and his associates will be in prison for a very long time, she reported. The evidence is overwhelming. The district attorney is very pleased. Apparently they've been trying to build a case against Dmitri for years. Good. Adrian accepted coffee gratefully. And the files? Already returned to secure storage, though I think we can retire that particular piece of bait now. It served its purpose. Over breakfast, Lena learned more about Adrian's world than she'd known in 6 months of dating. The security consulting was real, but it existed alongside something else, a network of people like him, survivors and protectors, who operated in the spaces between legal and necessary. They tracked abusers the system couldn't touch, protected people who fell through bureaucratic cracks, solved problems that required solutions courts couldn't provide. It's vigilante justice, Lena said slowly. It's practical justice. We don't break laws without cause. We work within the system when it works. But when it doesn't, Adrian shrugged, we do what's necessary. Is it dangerous? Sometimes. Less than you'd think. Most of what we do is information gathering, strategic pressure, making sure the right evidence reaches the right people. He hesitated. But yes, sometimes it's dangerous. Dmitri is proof of that. Lena absorbed this. She should have been appalled, should have been questioning everything about this man she'd fallen in love with. Instead, she thought about the women she'd helped over the past months, the ones who'd left abusers only to have them violate restraining orders with no consequences, the ones whose attackers walked free on technicalities, the ones failed by a system that meant well but moved too slowly. I want in, she said. Adrian's head snapped up. What? I want in. Whatever this network is, whatever you do, I want to be part of it. She leaned forward. I have connections now. Women who trust me. Stories that don't make it into police reports. I could help? Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. I just survived a kidnapping. I think I can handle it. Lena, don't patronize me. Don't tell me I'm not ready or strong enough or I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. Her voice rose. I need purpose. I need to know that what happened to me meant something, that I can use it to help others. She stood, pacing the kitchen. You do this to honor Irina. Let me do it to honor the woman I was. The one who was so broken she texted a stranger for help. Adrian was silent for a long moment. Katya, who'd been quietly observing, spoke up. She has a point. We could use someone with her connections, someone survivors trust. She looked at Adrian. You can't protect her from everything, but you can work with her, teach her, keep her as safe as possible while letting her make her own choices. Thank you, Katya. Lena shot the older woman a grateful look. Adrian scrubbed his hands over his face. You're both ganging up on me. Yes, they said in unison. Despite everything, he laughed. Fine. We can discuss it. But I have conditions. Extensive training, no field work without backup. And you tell Dr. Chen everything we're doing so she can make sure it's psychologically healthy and not some trauma response. Deal. Lena sat back down. Though I should warn you, Doctor, Chen already knows I want to do something more. We've been discussing it for weeks. Of course you have. Adrian shook his head, but he was smiling. You're going to be the death of me. Or the making of you. She reached across the table to take his hand. We'll figure it out together. The next months were a blur of activity. Lena continued her community programs, but now with the backing of Adrian's network. They established a formal nonprofit, Safe Harbor, that provided resources, legal support, and when necessary, more creative solutions for domestic violence survivors. Lena became the public face of the organization, speaking at fundraisers and conferences, sharing her story with anyone who'd listen. Adrian remained in the shadows, the invisible hand making sure survivors had safe houses, good lawyers, and protection when the system failed them. They made a good team. Lena's compassion and public presence balanced Adrian's tactical precision and behind-the-scenes maneuvering. What had started as a wrong number text had evolved into something larger than either of them, a genuine force for change. 1 year after that first desperate message, Lena stood in front of 500 people at a gala fundraiser for Safe Harbor. She wore a blue dress that matched her eyes, and her arm, healed completely now, bore a small tattoo of a phoenix, rising from ashes, reborn from pain. "A year ago, I was a different person," she told the crowd. "I was afraid, broken, convinced I deserved the abuse I suffered because I'd been told so many times that I did. And then one night, in a moment of desperation, I sent a text to the wrong number." She found Adrian in the crowd. He stood near the back, handsome in his tuxedo, watching her with unconcealed pride and love. That wrong number changed everything. The stranger who answered didn't ignore my cry for help. Didn't tell me it wasn't his problem. He came. He saved me. And then he did something even more important. He taught me to save myself. The crowd applauded. Lena waited for quiet before continuing. But this isn't a story about being rescued. It's about what happens after, about the hard work of healing, the courage it takes to rebuild, the strength required to help others even when you're still putting yourself back together. She gestured around the room. Everyone here tonight is part of that story. Every donation, every volunteer hour, every survivor who shares their truth, you're all part of something bigger. A network of people who refuse to ignore cries for help. More applause. Lena let it wash over her, still amazed that this was her life now. That the broken woman who'd hidden in a bathroom had become someone who spoke to crowds, ran a nonprofit, and made a real difference. After the speeches and dinner, after the dancing and networking, Adrian found her on the venue's balcony, looking out over the city lights. "Hell of a speech," he said, joining her at the railing. "I had a good teacher. I taught you self-defense, the courage to speak your truth. That's all you." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. A year ago, Lena had been terrified of silence, of being alone with her thoughts. Now she found peace in it. "I have something for you," Adrian said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Lena's heart jumped. "Adrian, it's not what you think." "Well, not exactly." He opened the box to reveal a key. "Key to the penthouse. I want you to move in with me." She stared at the key, emotions warring in her chest. "That's a big step." "I know, and if you're not ready, I understand. There's no pressure." "But Lena, you're there most nights anyway. Your toothbrush is in my bathroom. Your clothes are in my closet. I wake up reaching for you on the nights you're not there." He took her hand. "I want to build a life with you. A real life. Not as protector and protected, but as partners. Equals." Lena thought about her townhouse, the first space that had been truly hers. It represented independence, autonomy, the ability to stand on her own. Giving that up felt significant, scary, but living with Adrian wouldn't mean losing her independence. It would mean choosing to share her strength with someone who respected it, who'd proven over and over that he saw her as an equal, not a victim to be managed. "Yes," she said. "I'll move in." Adrian's smile was radiant. He pulled her into his arms, and they swayed together to the faint music drifting from inside. "I never thought I'd have this," Lena murmured against his chest. "After Marcus, after everything, I thought I was too broken for normal relationship things like moving in together or falling in love." "You're not broken. You're rebuilt. There's a difference." Adrian kissed the top of her head. "And for the record, there's nothing normal about our relationship, but I wouldn't change a single thing. Not even the kidnapping? Especially not the kidnapping. You were magnificent." She laughed, the sound free and genuine. A year ago, she couldn't have imagined laughing about that night. Now it was part of her story, part of what made her who she was, not a victim, but a survivor. Not someone who needed constant protection, but someone strong enough to protect others. They stayed on that balcony for another hour, planning their future. Safe Harbor was growing faster than expected. They'd need to hire more staff, expand the programs, maybe open satellite offices in other cities. It was ambitious, maybe crazy, but they'd built something impossible already. What was a little more impossibility? Eventually, they returned to the gala to say their goodbyes. As they walked through the crowd, Lena saw faces she recognized, survivors she'd helped, volunteers who dedicated themselves to the cause, donors who believed in their mission. This was her community now, her family of choice, built from shared purpose and mutual support. On the drive home, Lena's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For just a second, her old fear flickered. Then she opened it. I saw your speech tonight. I'm the woman who texted you 6 months ago after your first fundraiser. Because of you and Safe Harbor, I left. I'm safe now. Starting over. Just wanted to say thank you. You saved my life. Lena showed the message to Adrian. He read it and squeezed her hand. See? You're doing it, making a real difference. We're doing it. This only works because you support it, because you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I just answered a wrong number text. You did everything else. Lena laughed. Somehow I think there was more to it than that. They pulled into the parking garage of Adrian's building. Their building now, Lena reminded herself. The penthouse that would be their shared home. As they rode the elevator up, Adrian pulled her close. Do you ever think about that night? What would have happened if you'd sent that text to the right number? Lena considered it. If she'd reached her mother, she probably would have convinced Lena to stay, to give Marcus another chance, to believe his apologies and promises. Or maybe her mother would have helped her leave, but without the training and support Adrian provided, maybe Marcus would have found her. Maybe things would have ended very differently. I think wrong numbers exist for a reason, she said finally. Sometimes the universe puts exactly the right person in your path at exactly the right time, even if it looks like a mistake. Poetic, but true. She kissed him as the elevator doors opened. That wrong number didn't ruin my life. It led me exactly where I was meant to be. They entered the penthouse together. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new survivors who needed help, new fights to fight. But tonight was theirs, a moment of peace in the life they'd built together from chaos and pain and unexpected salvation. Lena looked around the space that would be her home. It was beautiful and secure and filled with the presence of a man who taught her that love didn't have to hurt, that strength could come in many forms, that sometimes the worst moments of our lives lead us to the best parts of ourselves. She thought about the woman she'd been a year ago, terrified, broken, convinced she had no way out. If she could go back and tell that woman what was coming, the pain, yes, but also the growth and the purpose and the love, what would she say? Probably just this. Hold on. Help is coming. And on the other side of this nightmare, there's a life beyond anything you can imagine. A life you'll build yourself. A life worth fighting for. What are you thinking about? Adrian asked, joining her by the windows. How far I've come, how far we've come. Lena leaned against him. A year ago, I sent a desperate text to a stranger. Now that stranger is the love of my life, and together we're saving people like I needed to be saved. It's almost too perfect. Nothing about our story is perfect. It's messy and complicated and built on trauma and violence. But it's ours. But it's ours, Adrian agreed. They stood there looking out over the city, two people who'd found each other through the worst circumstances and built something beautiful anyway. Somewhere out there, another person was probably hiding in a bathroom, terrified and desperate. Another person was reaching for their phone, hoping someone would answer their cry for help. And because of what Lena and Adrian had built, someone would answer. Someone would come. Someone would help them take the first steps toward a new life. The wrong number that changed everything had become a lifeline for others, had become proof that mistakes sometimes lead to exactly where you're meant to be. That strength can be found in the darkest moments. That love can grow from the most unlikely beginnings. Lena's journey from victim to survivor to advocate was complete. But in many ways, it was also just beginning. There were more people to help, more lives to change, more wrong numbers waiting to be answered. And she was ready for all of it. Together, they turned away from the windows and toward their future. A future built not on fear or need, but on choice, on partnership, on the unshakable knowledge that whatever came next, they would face it together. One wrong number hadn't ruined Lena's life. It had given her exactly the one she was meant to live.